I'm going to call to order the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for March 4th. Item number, I guess we should have a roll call.
Yes.
Joe Chapel,
Present.
Lynn Bilodeau,
Here.
Patrick Kerr,
Here.
Carol McPeak, James Hensley,
Present.
Aaron Brown,
Here.
Valerie Duncan,
Here.
Ed Wood, absent.
Yes. Public comments from anyone in the audience here that, and we'd like to keep that to something that's not on the agenda. And when we get to the agenda item that you want to speak on, you'll be able to speak. But is there any other comments from the public? All right. Item number 3 is approval of previous minutes from the regular meeting on February 4th, 2019. Did all the commissioners get a chance to read the? All right. Do I?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second?
Joe Chapel,
Yes.
Lynn Bilodeau,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr,
Yes.
James Hensley,
Yes.
Aaron Brown,
I abstain. I was absent that meeting.
and Valerie is absent.
No, Valerie's here.
Oh, sorry, Valerie.
Yes.
She's hiding on the end, the other end. All right.
Have you done that?
Okay. Item number 4 is discussion and potential action on the certificate of appropriateness application from Dana and Susan Hobson for the application of the color Sundance to the front exterior of Pioneer Picnic Tables Building at 120 South 2nd Street. And
Do this.
Leroy's going to give us a staff report again.
If I could back up a second on approval of minutes. Who was the
Okay.
second?
Yeah.
Who seconded it?
Lynn
Sure.
did.
I do.
I'm not fast. Take it.
All right.
I don't know that this will necessarily make a difference in the decision of the commission, but we just wanted to point out a few things. I will say that the history, that case history we have in our city files is not necessarily totally complete, but Rebecca did go through and try to find any case history we had on this property address. And it looks like on May 18th, there was action by the Planning Commission. It was consideration of action for signage requested by Dana Hobson at 120 South 2nd Street. So this had to do with signage. And there was discussion was based on the colors to be used in the font style. That would deal with the signage, not the front of the building. Colors must be chosen from the approved color chart. A motion was made by Commissioner Mackloff, seconded by Commissioner McPeak to approve the application with modification. And then later on June 1st, 2009, there was a agenda item dealing with the facade change requested. And it said discussion was held as the type of material to be used. They will use material same as existing. The front door will match existing. A motion was made by Commissioner Dandles, seconded by Commissioner Peak to approve the application as submitted. All voted aye. So there was a history of dealing with signage and the facade change, but in those there was no documentation of a color to paint the exterior. So that's what we have from the history. I would point out in your packets, if you have them available, for what's worth, if you look at the photograph that has the grand opening sign on it, it appears that the area under where the old sign was at one time was some shade of yellow. You have to look at it closely. I'm not saying it's necessarily the color that we're talking about, but if you look right under that sign, you can see that where the sign was taken off, where it hadn't faded, it was some form of yellow tint. And if you look at the photograph with the ladder,
There's more.
again, if you look at where the ladder is, again, you can see where they have started painting, and if you look right there, it's
Yeah.
a different shade of yellow where maybe it had faded or something over time, but it clearly wasn't white where the sign was.
Right.
So I just wanted to point out for
Yeah.
your all's reference that there is some indication that the building has been painted some form of yellow at one time, and it had faded to look like white. Now, whether it was the color Sundance, you really can't tell from those pictures. But I just thought it would be worthwhile pointing that information out to the commission as they visited with the applicants to make a decision.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments, Dana? Want to tell us? Yeah, we're ready for you.
Hello, evening. Dana and Susie Hobson. I'd like to begin, it's a little bit redundant, but I've got some pictures that might be helpful, if I can pass those around.
Sure.
Yes, please. Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on that, page number 1, that was the building when we purchased the building in 2009. And you can see that it was
Sorry.
needing some work done. So we did apply with the commission about replacing the facade and some signage, and also about the color of the building. So that was what we did. And then we were also told that we should select the colors from the historic colors that Ace Hardware provides, and so we also did that. On the opposite side of that front page, it shows the date of that shot, those two pictures of the facade, and you can see how much it's faded over the period of years from the original yellow color. Then I think on number 3, it shows the sign on the building. And then also that one directly below is the building today. And then on the last page, you can see clearly, and I think Leroy brought that up, that you can clearly see how that has taken a beating from the west sun and has faded over the years. So what we were trying to do was to do maintenance generally on the building. We were not aware that it was necessary to get permission or on routine maintenance, which we thought that might be. So we would like approval of the color, because that was the original color approved by the commission. And I think Susie may have a comment or two and answer any of your questions or concerns.
Okay.
I'm Susie Hobson, and first of all, an apology to you all for our last meeting. We take your job very seriously, and we respect it considerably as to your purpose here in Guthrie. So we did not intend to not attend this meeting last month. A little embarrassed when we saw ourselves on YouTube and heard the discussion and everything. And I think one concern that I had was just that maybe we randomly, just out of the blue last month, selected this very bright color. And we did not. It has the history back since 2009 when we purchased the building. And at that time, it's old and it's needing repair, but it was a yellow building. And it was very adamant at that time, and I don't know if the policy has changed with the Historic Commission or not, but we were told, pick from these historic colors. And we thought the wood building, and it would look nice, and it would be bright, facing the west and everything. So when we got ready to renovate again, and do our remodel in January of this year, we thought, well, it sure needs a new paint job. So that's what we did, and we picked the same color. And then someone came by and said, oh, you need to talk to the commission. And so we said, oh, sure, and filled it out, just maintenance, and then that was that. So again, we respect your job and your role in the community. And if the policy has changed, we were not aware of that. But we do ask that you approve this and reconsider. Thank you.
What year did you guys purchase the building?
2009.
Okay.
So we had purchased it in April of 2009.
Okay.
And then this is the front pages for an appraisal that was being done so that we could get financing to do it correctly. So that first picture, I think, just shows a little bit of the color scheme. And then some of the back. And then also it was appraised again in 2017. And you can see that the building had faded considerably. Also, it really in that picture doesn't even look very yellow. And so I could understand why people would think it was never a yellow building. But then when we had the sign taken down, you could see that it had been that color. So we just picked the same color, thinking that was going to be okay.
And I'm not trying to be argumentative, but the yellow that was under the sign, it doesn't look near as bright as the Sundance
Oh,
yellow.
no, not at all. That Sundance has faded considerably. This has been, 10 years now?
Oh, I understand, but how do you know that what was under the sign was Sundance?
We painted it. We bought the paint and purchased it and had it painted. And we selected Sundance color. It wasn't someone else who had painted that building. We were the
Okay.
ones who had done that.
So the
And we were-
building, so basically, this picture, I imagine I've got
Oh,
it.
that 20,
But basically, this picture, you painted the whole building this color.
Yes.
And then covered it with a sign.
yes,
And then the rest of the building faded to this color.
right,
Okay.
right. So, and then
And
what
how
was
long,
even-
and then there was probably a period of time also that there wasn't a sign there at all. So
Well,
it may have faded some,
and really,
in that
I'm sorry,
time,
I should
too.
have brought another picture. The sign had faded considerably also. And I don't think you see that so well in that picture number 3, that it had faded, but it wasn't as bright a color. I'm a little surprised that what was under the sign faded that dramatically,
but that heat and
but it
sun
was,
and,
Those UV rays, that sun damage really
can even come
faded.
in through there. So we were even amazed when we were looking back on our records that within a couple of years, truly, it had really changed dramatically. So this vibrant yellow, but we liked it. We thought it was a great color, and with a little bit of the history of the building, a wooden frame, wooden building, not a brick, and facing the west and the Old West and everything. So anyway, we liked it, but we were the ones who selected from that color palette in 2009, the color of Sundance. And I think that's why we remembered it so dramatically.
Well, I think that illustrates just amazingly how much the UV damage does to color.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible how much it can degrade over the years. And so it's so dramatic when it changed with a fresh coat of paint that it was,
Yes.
oh, wow, that's hugely different than what we were used to seeing.
I think that's probably what happened. People saw it and thought, oh my gosh, what have they done? We did get a few compliments, though, I tell you, we did. And the man who does our painting for us said that several people had stopped by and said, hey, I'm glad you're doing this, and it looks really great and everything. But yes, it's definitely a color shot.
So you have absolutely maintained, the same color palette, the historic approved color palette the entire
Yes,
time?
we never painted
Okay,
between
yeah.
2009 and the one we just updated on.
and
Alright, cool.
I would point out too that the old Lilly building, the Daniels Drugstore. It's yellow, guys.
It's very similar yellow, yes. Absolutely. I think a fresh coat of paint looks really great on it.
Thank you.
It looks so much better than it did before. Thank you.
Well, it was time to be updated, and you
Absolutely.
just kind of moved, and we had the picnic table business, and then in the last 2 years, we did something a little different, and it was time to update it. And So,
Well, I don't see any reason to not approve this, so I'll make a motion to approve.
I got a question first.
Okay.
The trim on top or above, it looks like in the past it was a blue that matched the canopy on one side and the blue striping on the other side, but now it looks like it's either faded or it's just dull, it looks gray. Are you going to repaint that?
you know, it may be that kind of a weather strip up there, that metal weather strip, Dana might remember better than I do, but it's very possible that when we replace that wood, that we put a new metal strip up there, because it's silver now. I don't believe it's been painted. We just kept it kind of the neutral color in that picture number 4.
Is this color on the palette? That's the big deal.
Well,
Now, the burgundy, if you notice that the burgundy brick around the yellow facade, we never did anything with that, one way or the other. When we bought the building, it was that purple.
And it's also muted
Yeah.
compared to this now.
And you can, yes, it is. It's almost
Yeah.
it's almost a softer red. A little different than, of course, the brick right next to us and then the bluebell. So we just didn't even touch that brick surrounding it at all. And the brick's in pretty good shape, I think. But the.
And I know at the last meeting, the staff actually recommended denial of this color. Does the city staff have a recommendation this time?
Different city staff, you ask
I understand.
opinions. Given what we've looked at, I think
Yeah.
Rebecca previously had not seen evidence that it was yellow before. For all intents and purposes, it looked like a white.
And you can also see how she thought that
And,
too.
and not that Rebecca or anybody questioned your all's word or opinion, but if you just look at the building, it looked like it was
White building, and
Right.
now that, and you go back and look at the records,
A fresh coat of paint makes a huge difference.
it does. And so I think even with this information, Rebecca would probably change her stance a little bit. I think what staff's recommendation, if we think that the Sundance is too bright for the future, one compromise would to be make a motion to approve the Sundance, and then if it ever is repainted, to go to a more neutral color.
Well, I think part of the problem we're running into with our palette, and we've talked about revisiting it, is that the palette from ACE is designed for old Victorian homes.
Residential properties, not
And
necessarily for
two,
commercial.
there's not any guidance on what is an accent color. I mean, with the palette that we have, you could have painted it pink, and still been compliant. And I do think that's something that we need to visit.
Yes.
But as of now, I don't see there's any way that we could deny it at all.
No, and
This
staff's
is on the palette, is
recommendation
it not?
again would be.
It is.
This color is on the palette.
Yeah.
It is,
But like I said, so's pink and purple. So I'm glad
yeah.
that was your
We're
first
just saying
choice.
that prospectively, we
Right.
may want to revisit the palette and designate some colors as accent colors. So we
Right.
don't have the whole purple building down.
Well, exactly,
Somewhere.
so
But
that'll be a future
Doesn't have anything to do with
discussion.
this application,
Exactly.
obviously.
So the motion I made is that we'll go ahead and approve this because this fits under just maintenance for, just a fresh coat of paint of the original color that it was, which is totally approved under what all of our designations as we have it right now. So I don't think we have any reason to disapprove it.
Do I have a second?
I didn't get an answer
Oh,
on
I'm
what
so
color
sorry.
they're going to print.
Sorry.
The trim at the top.
Trim at the top.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
The piece at the top here, the piece of trim here, is that going to get painted blue like it was in the past?
Oh, no, no.
Why not?
Blue?
That's what it
That's
had
what it looks
before.
like it is right now.
It doesn't look like
It's not-
that. It
it's
just
not
looks like a
dark
metal
blue.
color, because it looks like just a piece of flashing,
She said that it was metal now.
piece of flashing.
So that was in 2009. All of that flashing was deteriorated and was replaced.
That's fine. Are you going to paint the flashing like the color it was in the
Well, if
past?
you look at the, today,
If you look over his picture, it looks blue.
That's what I thought. He thinks it looks gray.
Now, on this one, it does, but on this one, it looks blue.
Yeah, but that just could be the age of the.
Yeah, the age of the
flash, too.
picture
I
and the
mean,
quality of the pictures.
Take a look at the blue colors on the left and on the right of the building. It doesn't look like that.
He's just wondering if they were gonna match it with that blue, the awning blue.
We don't have any to do that. Would you like for us to? I mean.
Well, I don't want to leave it just the metal because it'll start to rust unless you prime it or put some kind of paint over it eventually. Then you're going to end up with rust streaks down along your fascia.
I really don't remember that being blue.
Well, but he's saying right here, see this?
I think it's just
looks
faded.
blue.
I think it is blue.
I do too.
It looks like it was blue,
She
maybe.
just said they
matched
just
the
changed it
awnings
to metal.
Or something. So your recommendation would be to paint the
The flashing.
flashing?
Yes.
I would think that if we did, we would paint it the yellow. What would be your recommendation on that color?
Yeah, yellow.
I
I
like
mean,
the
just
blue
finish out.
like it was before.
You want the blue?
That would be my preference.
I don't,
I think that would even draw more attention to it.
I do too.
don't you want to
So, I
kind
mean,
of blend
that's
after a
just an
while?
opinion, but I like it the way it is.
Me too.
Len, what's your
You can't
opinion?
leave it the way it is or it's going to rust. It's got to be painted something.
Len,
Well,
Valerie,
we
do you
did
have
not
opinion on the
replace this-
flashing?
What's it made
We
of?
have not replaced this.
Metal.
This flashing
but what
since
kind of metal?
2009.
What kind of metal is it though?
I mean, it doesn't,
It's not bare metal. It's still whatever color blue
I think
it
it's
was,
been
it's just
treated.
faded blue now. They didn't replace it since '09.
So if we replaced that in 2009, we have not replaced it since then, and we have not painted it. So whatever, did we replace that in 2009, the flashing?
Yes.
Okay, so then the picture on 2011, you don't see it, sorry. 2017, that was before it was repainted. We didn't replace that flashing. I can check with, I believe you, but I can also check with our painter and the person who's been doing some of that work for us to see if that, so your concern is that it's going to rust?
It will rust. It's metal.
Why has it not rusted for 10
well, not
years?
all metal rust.
I mean,
Doesn't it?
I'm just curious, if we had it replaced in 2009,
I have a-
we'll take your recommendation on this.
I've got a motion to approve as is. Can I get a second?
Yes.
I've got a
We have a
second.
second.
Can we vote?
Joe Chabel,
Yes.
Lynn Bilodeau,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr,
No,
James Hensley,
Yes.
Aaron Brown,
Yes.
Valerie Duncan,
No.
And for my notes, who made the second? That was
James did.
Pass or go?
it's 4-2, so is that a pass?
That's a pass.
That's
Pass.
a pass.
I was told there'd be no math.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. If there is a change when you proceed the next few months and everything, and you talk about the palettes that you want and how you want to designate them and everything, I don't know how many businesses are in your jurisdiction or area. I would assume primarily the historic downtown, but it may also extend a little bit. I don't know if First Street is still part of that or whatever. But maybe send a letter to the homeowners and business owners and letting them know that going forward. And then at that time, when we do maintenance and we repaint, we will come before you again and not just assume that that color has been approved for a lifetime.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. And I think our biggest confusion was that nobody really realizes just how much sun damage does to a paint color over time.
Thank you.
And so thank you for bringing that to our attention. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you. Item number 5, discussion and potential action on the certificate of appropriateness application from James Long for the window decal sign and possibly window tint to the Little Victor Building at 115 South First Street.
Since, I'm going to let you all handle that one, but since I've got to get upstairs, the 6 o'clock meeting, could I,
Okay.
under staff comments, just point out that we have 3 commission members that are into their term is March 31st this year. And they're all up here to be eligible to be reappointed. And the city requires updated applications. So if those 3 individuals who comes up at the end of this month would submit updated applications if they want to get reappointed for another term, we would appreciate it.
Do you have those 3 names, please?
Carol Peak, Patrick Kerr, and Lynn Belfield.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm going to excuse myself and go.
All right. Do we have anyone here to speak to the item 5? All right.
Hi, I'm Stacy Smith. And I don't know why it keeps coming up, James Long. He is the owner of the building, but it's actually my business that's
see.
going in there. So I just kind of wanted to
That's
clarify
fine.
that. I do have papers I would like to hand out to you guys. I didn't
Thank
put
you.
these in all your packets, I guess.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is the logo, just kind of blown up. I put it on the picture, but it wasn't big enough. Thank you.
And in our packet, it shows that this is it's definitely way below the 30%. It's not a large
I'm not trying to
graphic.
draw a huge amount of attention to this. There won't be any, the windows are going to stay, there already is some blinds on the inside of the window that darken the windows. So there was a point in there that if that's not dark enough, the only thing that I maybe would like to do is actually tint the windows. I don't want it to be something that's super visible when you drive down the road. I want it to be very discreet but look very professional. So, but yes, the sign is not a huge, it's just on the 2 windows.
I don't know anything about tinting of windows, guys.
Oh, either.
Anybody?
I don't think that we have anything on window tinting in our
I haven't
in
seen
our book.
anything.
I'd prefer not to do it just because of cost, obviously, but, and there is blinds on the inside, but I don't want it to be something that, first of all, for safety reasons, for burglary, things like that. So I want it to be just dark enough to where people, it's just something that's closed in. It wouldn't be a mirrored tint. It would just be a regular darker window tint, but it may not even need that. But I just wanted to kind of bring it up and just, so it's out there.
What does city staff think about that?
I got no comments from Leroy on that.
Okay.
I will research the tint question. It will need to come back to historic if you choose to add tint at the time.
Okay,
And I'll research it and give you.
Yeah, that'll give us a chance to know what we're,
okay.
up against. And
Okay.
if we let it, we want to make sure that it's not, like it sounds like you were already considering that, but, as far as shade and.
Well, we won't know till we actually get product in there, and like I said, I want it to be very discreet. I don't want it to be something
Right.
that draws attention.
And so would we.
Because of the nature of the business, obviously. Some people are definitely against it,
So we will, staff will look into that, and if
Okay.
you decide to proceed with that,
Okay,
then you could come back up here and talk
Okay.
to them.
Okay.
So right now, we're just going to consider the sign.
okay.
I make a motion to approve the sign as presented. I don't see any reason why, as long as it's underneath the 30%.
I'll second.
Let's vote.
Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Lynn Bilodeau,
Yes.
Patrick Kerr,
Yes.
Carol McPeak, James Hensley,
Yes,
Aaron Brown,
Yes.
Valerie Duncan.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you
Stacy.
guys very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
All right. Do we have any comments from staff?
Just to reiterate what Leroy said about the upcoming terms, I do have 3 applications here if you want them before you leave,
That's good.
if you're interested in spending some more time with us.
Do we have any commissioner comments?
Just real quick, I'm not trying to be anal,
Uh-huh.
but we do have a city ordinance on neon signs.
Yeah.
And I see it violated all over town.
Okay, I don't think you were here for this meeting.
No.
But before Rebecca left, she talked specifically about inconsistency in some of the downtown signage and neon lights and different things, and that there's several things that aren't compliant with, and that we were going to do, oh gosh, help me.
A sweep.
Yes, we were going to do a sweep, but before we did that, we were going to notify, it sounded like we were going to notify the businesses downtown that we were going to be revisiting, our compliance on signage and different things, and that we would come out with a report to try to get everybody on the same page. Like, we've got these blinking open signs.
And we've got one with the hours listed underneath them.
And we've got the signs around the, we've got those like cable lights around some windows and some, and then we've got some, a couple of buildings that have really, the entire window is a sign that you can see through sort of, but, completely covered.
So
So anyway, we were-
Rebecca's goal was to send out a letter to all of the people about
Yeah,
what was approved and what was acceptable and what was not, and to give them plenty of
Yeah,
warning and time.
so, and that's probably something that we're going to have to continue with our new city planner once we get one.
I don't-
But,
I think we either stick with it or amend it. If we want to amend it and say you could put business hours underneath it, that's
yeah,
fine
but
with me.
but
But as
blink,
it is right now, it is.
but
very-
blinking open signs, I mean, there's a whole list of things. And then one of the things that I know that Rebecca and I had discussed are these, what do they call them? Feather flags?
Oh,
The
I hate 'em.
the feather flags that say loans and vape and
Lunch.
those really aren't, I don't think we have an ordinance for them because they're
don't.
sort of a new phenomenon. So that's something that we need to, we just need to look into,
That's-
the
that
sign
was
of
one
sizes, the blinking lights, and finger flags and,
That was another one of my
flag.
comments, was going to be those feather things.
Is that something we need to wait for us to have a discussion about updating our red book once we get a new city planner? Or city, or,
Yes.
I was
Yes?
just making comments.
But there is some temporary sign verbiage in your book that I was going over today that allows them to have temporary signage for 30 days without having to come to you. But after 30 days, it is supposed to be on your agenda. So,
yeah, and that's perfectly fine, because it takes a business sometimes a while to get a sign going and.
Don't the feather flags fall under sidewalk signage?
I
And
don't
I
know. I have
understand
tried,
you
I've
don't
read
allow
this
that,
100
do we?
times and I can't
I
find
would,
it anywhere.
I mean, it's definitely signage,
Yeah.
and I don't,
It's sidewalk signage.
yeah, it's signage, so.
I have looked, tried to read and nitpick this thing, and I can't really get anything specific about that.
3.1I, I believe, talks about temporary signage. I read it today because we have a request for a temporary sign at the flower shop that caught on fire with new information of where they're going to be. So
Right.
I have not seen the paperwork on it yet, but that's probably going to be in the next meeting, so.
But the feather signs aren't temporary
No,
signage.
they're
No,
not temporary.
I mean, they're not being used.
They would be considered a temporary sign, so they should be on there for 30 days, and then they should be gone, or they should be approved by you guys. So feather signs are temporary advertising for a
So
facility
we
according
could
to our
put it
ordinance,
under that category and say that you can do it for 30 days.
and then it has to go away.
But that's the kind of thing that it would be nice to reach out to the downtown businesses that this is something that's under review, that we're revisiting our signage, light requirements. Because, you know, the blinking open signs,
The chasing one,
yeah, and the chasing ones. and it-
LBEN.
With the
Yeah,
hours-
we're just gonna have to-
Hours are open underneath them too, I see a lot of that.
So anyway, but that was
Yeah,
sort of where that stood.
Okay.
We definitely need to,
and the feathers.
The idea was to get through the holidays before we
Okay.
did this, so.
right,
This was discussed last November-ish,
yeah, probably. But it,
because we went through and
partly
did a
because we were denying some people, and then they'd come back and they go, well, what about
Bluebell.
what about that place? So but notifying the historic district that we're working on that would at least give them a, you know, a heads up.
And one thing that I've come across is that people don't really know what the geographic area of what we cover is.
Miss Hobson wasn't sure.
Right, so to clarify some of those things a little bit better for our business owners, I think would be helpful in the future.
Pretty much, there are some, it does go past what you would consider in some areas. It goes down First Street, and of course, it includes the park.
Goes to Springer.
Yeah. And, but anyway, for the most part, I think most of the people that own buildings in the district know that
They've
they're
been
in
there
it.
before.
They know they're in it. So, but anyway, that, I do think that along with, you know, looking at the palette and coming up with some,
Do you want a pallet, sir? I have one next door.
pardon me?
Do you want a pallet? I have one next door. I'll go
Oh, no,
get it
no,
for you.
no, no, no,
Okay.
but just for
Redefining,
redefining the palette, so we're not just using maybe aces, and that people don't think that they can paint a building purple. I mean, we had a request for a baby blue building. You know, just, anyway.
Do we have a purple building? We'd have a purple building down
Yes, but at least the brick's not purple.
yes.
It's
So
an accent color.
in the future, we would like to revisit our guidelines and to update it and to redefine some of our issues, and then also try to get some more education efforts, is that right?
Yeah,
Out to the business owners?
Do we need to make a motion that we, as the commission, wish to do
I
this?
don't think we can do it until it's on the agenda, can we?
Correct.
Well, I understand, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we can request that it be on the agenda next time.
So do you want to start with a pallet first?
That would probably be easier, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we'll start with that.
If you have ideas of what you want it to look like, email me,
Yeah, we can do that.
and that way we can put something together for it to be looked at, instead of just bringing the pallet in here and having a
Right.
full discussion about it, so.
And I would like to remind the commissioners that the Territorial Museum has a lot of historical resources available for research purposes,
Particularly in signage.
particularly in signage.
Okay.
Okay, any other commissioner comments? I have one. I would like to see, I would very much like to see us revisit the fountain in Mineral Wells Park at a future date. I know that it seems to have been discontinued, but it seems like that, I just think it's a good idea that could happen with very little effort.
I missed last month's meeting, and
You did.
I read all
You
the
did.
emails back and forth about, well, what is the big hoorah here? I
Yeah.
couldn't quite
I
understand that.
missed last month's meeting too, and I was just wanting some more
I'm
information.
I'm
and it
disappointed
was-
that it's not on this agenda.
It got.
I
way
don't
late.
think anything was prepared to make this agenda.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can see that again.
with the plan.
Yeah.
I think that was the problem. The plan wasn't complete yet to be on the agenda for this time.
All right, great.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Then we are adjourned.